Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Today, my friend is an American actress, singer, theater director, playwright, librettist. Is it librettist or librettist?
Both.
It's both. Choreographer, translator. She's based in New York. She works and performs in English and Yiddish speaking stages. On Broadway, she was in the cast of Paula Fogel's Indecent, as well as being nominated for a Tony Award as the director of the musical Those Were the Days, which I was fortunate enough to be in as well. She also choreographed and starred in it. She interprets and performs of Yiddish theater and song. In April 2019, she was the director, co-creator, and featured vocalist in From Shtetl to Stage, a collaboration and a celebration of Yiddish music and culture at Carnegie Hall, which I was also fortunate have been invited.
Thank God for you, Mike, or I wouldn't. Who would be in my shows if not for you?
To participate in. She frequently collaborates with Frank London of the Klezmatics and the Klezmer Brass All-Stars. She received a Dorothy Silver Playwriting Award for her play Wishful Thinking. She was commissioned to adapt the story The Adventures of Herschel Ostropolje.
Who was in that?
Wait a minute, I'll tell you. As Herschel of Ostropolje as a musical for the National Yiddish Theater Volksbühne, where it played for 2 consecutive seasons, starring, it says here, Mike Burstyn. Wow. It then played in Israel at Yiddish Biel, where it was nominated for an Israel Prize. Most recently, and I was so pleased to see you in it, she co-starred as Mrs. Finkel in HBO's adaptation of Philip Roth's The Plot Against America. Amazing, amazing. And I am talking about my friend Eleanor Reissa, who's joining us from, I don't know where you are. Where are you?
I'm upstate New York, my new residence.
Where is that specifically?
It's in Putnam County. And a couple of years ago, I bought a little log cabin, and now I'm living in it. Now I'm in a log cabin, a Jew in a log cabin.
I love the brown, the wood behind you. It looks like a log cabin.
Yeah, it is a log cabin. It's a lovely little spot, and it's my new home for now.
Oh, and do you have some grounds around you?
I have about a half an.
Forgive me, I just sneezed. Thank you.
You should put on a mask. I'm on a lake, so that's
wow.
Yeah. So it's like I live in a national park. It seems like.
So I was just going to ask you, since we are talking during the epidemic, and all my friends are coping in one way or another, I guess it must be a little easier for you than being in Manhattan or in an urban area. You can go out and take walks. You've got fresh air. Is that helpful?
Yeah. I think it's easier because it's less dense. So when I take a walk, there's hardly anybody else walking, so you don't have to wear a mask. But I do when I go to the store, which I don't do much. It's a new life. It's a new world.
We are living in a new reality, and we're going to have to get used to this for quite a while. And who knows whether it won't be here with us, forever. And we'll just have to learn to live with it. But
it's like it seems like the world is upside down.
Yeah.
And it's
yeah.
It just seems surreal. I always think about the Holocaust. I mean, I think about the Holocaust even on a good day. It's so kind of, but the reality, the unique reality, I imagine is something that has not been felt since those days, in a way, when you didn't know where people were and you didn't know how people were, and people were in danger. I mean, it's very different. I'm not really comparing the two, but it's a peculiar time.
Well, I'll tell you, I have a dear friend. She is just turned 100, and she's a Holocaust survivor of several camps and of the death marches. She's a little petite lady. She's amazing. She's, strong as Eisen, she's so strong and iron. And she tells me, when I speak to her, that compared to what they went through, we shouldn't complain.
Absolutely. Totally. No, I don't mean to equate the two and complain. I have a
I know.
similar friend like that, who also survived and said, this is nothing. I
Yeah.
mean, it's nothing.
And we shall overcome it, and this too shall pass.
Yes.
So what's keeping you busy? I know I've had a chance to catch up on so much in the last 4 or 5 months that I've been neglecting, and then I decided to do this, which at least it gives me a chance to practice what I love to do, and that is to communicate and to
Yeah.
share.
Yeah.
And what have you been able to do? Are you writing? Are you developing things? Are you planning? What's keeping you busy?
Creatively, there's been two things that have kept me busy. One is with Frank. We were supposed to go to Krakow this year to sing at the Yiddish Fest, to play and sing at the Yiddish Festival there. So that, of course, was canceled. But they commissioned us to do a video recording. And the question was, how are we going to do that during these pandemic times? And so Frank London arranged a rooftop in Manhattan on 13th Street and Avenue C. And this was the beginning, when there were the Black Lives demonstration, the Black Lives Matters demonstrations had just started up. And so it was a crazy time, but we did a concert.
A concert on the roof.
Like the Beatles rooftop concert with no audience. Whoever wasn't on a brass instrument was masked, and there was social distancing. It came out fabulous. So that was great.
Can it be seen online?
Yes, it can be seen. It can be seen.
If you give me the link, I'll put it up.
Okay, you mean like after we talk?
Yeah, I'll put it up when I edit it.
In these curious times, please welcome the amazing star of stage and screen, Miss Eleanor Reissa. 1, 2, 3, 1.
Shalom Aleichem. It's great to be here. The topic of this song is money. Money, money, money. For money, you can buy information. For money, something small becomes big. For money, the innocent are stuck in prison. For money, murderers are set free. Für Geld könnt ihr kaufen Gewissen. Für Geld jeder Gu nicht wird groß. Für Geld sitzen Menschen in Twiese. Für Geld lost men mehr der Reus. Für Geld sind ihr bei jeder Taille. Für Geld hat euch jeder lieb. Für Geld könnt ihr laufen in Feier. Und für Geld gehst die Gleiche in Krieg. Als für Geld, nur für Geld, hab ich alle Mesomen. Als für Geld, nur für Geld, kann man als verkümmen. Es ist kein Sach, Schwerberei, als ihre Geld und wir sind reich. Oi weh, das ganze Welt hat lieber ein bisschen Geld. Money, money, money. You can do this wherever you are. It's like Jewish Pilates. Schön wie die Levone, lichtig wie die Sterne von Himmel am Matan. Sonne bist du zu mir geschehen. Mein Glück hab ich gewinnen, wenn ich hab dich gewinnen. Du scheinst wie 1000 Sinnen, hast du mein Herz beglückt. Deine Schändele, weiße Perle, mit deinen schönen Augen, deine Hemdele, deine Heere, hast mich zugezeigt, schön wie viele Wohnen, lichtig wie die Sterne, von Himmel am Matane, und bist du mir geschehen.
You know, that's my old neighborhood.
Yeah, well,
13th Street and Avenue C. We were on 10th Street and 2nd Avenue, right around the corner. That's where I grew up. Wow.
yeah, yeah. And in other news, I've written this book, and I have an agent, and I got these notes from a publisher who was interested, and so I've been spending this time working on the book, and I just sent a new draft into Deborah Harris, and I don't know if you know her, Mike. She's an Israeli agent, a book agent, represents many artists. But anyway, so that's that, and now I have not much. Now you're my creative outlet, so I hope to talk to you every day.
Oh, well, is it a novel or is it?
No, it's a memoir kind of. It's about my parents, as you know, were Holocaust. They lived through the Holocaust, and
Tell us, talk a little bit about that. I mean, for people who don't know your background, I gave a little, but not your personal background about your folks, your parents. You were born in the States.
I was born in Brooklyn. I was born in Brooklyn.
I'll forgive you for
Little,
that.
yeah, no, it's a beautiful little shtetl, Brooklyn. They came. My father was in Auschwitz. My mother was in Uzbekistan. That's where they each separately spent the war years. And they met in Ulm and Stuttgart, where my father went after Auschwitz, and my mother went to a DP camp in Ulm.
Ooh, that's interesting. Forgive me, because
No, it's all right.
first of all, Ulm is where Einstein was born.
Correct.
And my sister-in-law was born in a DP camp in Ulm.
Do you know which one, Mike?
I don't, but my wife, Siona's sister, her parents were at the DB camp in Ulm, and she was born there in 1947.
Wow. Yes. A miracle birth,
Yeah.
if you think
Forgive me.
about it.
Go on. I didn't mean to
Well,
interrupt.
no, it's all right. So that's where they met after the war. They were both married before the war, and they both had children before the war. And my mother had a son that I grew up with, and my father had a son and a daughter. The daughter was killed. And they married here in America. They came in 49 and 50. And I was born many
Years later.
as you can see.
We don't.
I'm out, Mike. I'm out. I've outed myself, but I like it. And they divorced when I was separated when I was 6 and divorced a few years later. When my mother died in 1986, my father died in 76. She died in 86. I found 60 letters from 1949 that my father had written to her while she was already in America and he was still in Stuttgart. And so the book that I've written is about the letters and the journey. I went not back, but I went to Ulm and Stuttgart. And the letters were kind of my map,
Oh, wow.
and I uncovered things that more than I ever could have dreamed about. So, so that's what the book is. I love the book. I mean, the book, I'm excited about it, and looking forward to somebody deciding they want it. So, yeah, my family were not show business people. They were factory workers here. In Europe, they were sales people. My father sold stuff. Um,
What
and
a lovely tribute to your parents, and the memories that we need to pass on to future generations. Otherwise, these stories would be lost. But it's from a person. It's always more interesting when it comes from a personal point of view. I mean, you can talk about 6 million having perished in the Holocaust, but it's hard to grasp. But when you read about one girl, her diary,
that's
Frank, that is something you can, relate to. So,
yeah.
do you have a name for the book?
It's called The Letters Project.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
uh,
wonderful. Oh, I'm looking forward.
yeah, me too. Me too.
You let us know, and I'll.
I will. I will. So that's the latest. Otherwise, staying alive.
Well, look, we don't talk about age, because age is a number. I just had a birthday a week ago or 2 weeks ago, so I've been here for 3/4 of a century, which is
Poo, poo, poo.
and I just read something recently. Somebody sent me a little quote that Clint Eastwood was playing golf with a friend
Huh.
of his, a musician, a songwriter. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name, but he had just turned 88, and his friend asked him, "How do you stay so fresh and young?" And his answer was, "Because I don't let the old man in." And his friend went home and wrote a song called "I Don't Let the Old Man In." And I'm thinking very seriously about that now. I will not let the old man in. We don't do that, right,
I
Eleanor?
agree. Listen, Mike,
We're
I
not
know
letting them in.
no, we're not letting them in, and but I know you for so long now. I mean, the first time we worked together was in 1980,
Was it 84, something like that?
85 or 86, I think, when you invited me to go with you to Israel.
Israel, you were a tzutzik. You were so delightful because I needed a partner. I was uh, putting on one of my father's famous Yiddish musicals, My Shtete Belts, and I needed a young actress to play the ingenue in that
Your
wonderful.
sister, I was your sister.
And it had to be someone with a lot of chen. For those of you who don't know what chen is, it's more than charm. It's something you're born with. It radiates from you. In the Yiddish theater, in the old days, they used to call it the rozhinke, the
Huh.
raisin, and it means it's something you can't put your finger on. You either have it or you don't. And I don't know how did I meet you, or did I see you somewhere? And I said, "This is the one." And
I don't remember where you saw me, and I was doing some Yiddish theater at the time, so you must have seen that. But it kind of changed my life, that that trip.
oh, it was wonderful. I brought you to Israel. We had a wonderful tour. Was it the first time you'd visited
It
Israel?
was the second time. I had been with my father when I was a young girl, and I didn't like it. And I really didn't want to go back, frankly.
Hmm.
And your other guest, who was a friend of mine, Manny Eisenberg,
Ah,
is and was a good friend.
yeah.
And when I told him about your offer, he said, "You must go.
You
You
knew Manny
must."
all the way back then?
I knew Manny even before then. From We auditioned for the Golden Land when it was just an idea. It was a little piece, and we auditioned for him, and we became friends all the way back then because he's such a Yiddishist. I mean,
Oh,
he so loves Yiddishkeit. So whatever charm I could scratched together, I did my best. I put my best foot forward so that it would be interesting for him.
well, then I have to thank Manny for the fact that you came with me to Israel. You know, his uncle was a Yiddish actor, Wolf Barzel.
Yeah,
Wolfie Barzel,
yeah.
a friend of my father's. Well, we had a wonderful time there. And since then, we have been friends, worked together. I must say that thanks to you, I tore my meniscus in my knee.
I thought you were going to say something nice.
You remember that? We were
I
rehearsing
do.
Herschela in New York. I think it was the first day. And you put me up on a trunk, and I
You
decided to
jumped
jump
down.
off the trunk, and I tore my meniscus. And
It was a huge, I mean,
what a success that was, right?
yes,
Amazing.
what a beautiful production. I mean, I must say, it was so beautiful. Um, it was just,
And then we did it in Israel, and we sold out. It was probably one of the, every once in a while I go back to Israel because I don't want Yiddish to disappear as a spoken living language and perform Yiddish concerts or plays. And we sold out a 1,100 seat theater, Beit HaChayal, the soldier's house, 11 times. It was
I mean,
unheard of. It
it,
was
it,
really
it
unheard
was so beautiful. And it, it was one of the most beautiful productions I'd ever been associated with, frankly. I mean, everything about it, it was like a nugget. It was just a little bonbon of everything about it was charming and sweet and funny. And you and Bodo,
Yes, yeah. Who's still going? He's going strong. God
that's
bless
right,
him. But
that's right.
first of all, it started with a story. When you start with a story, that's what we are. We're storytellers. When you start with such a wonderful story of Herschela, who was, a folk uh, character, and used to tell these funny stories about him, but then you took it and you developed it into such an original concept. You can take stories and just present them the way they are, and it's just another story. But the way you staged it and choreographed it
Yeah.
and conceived it was what brought it, to a different level. And people just, and we had in New York, we had English and Russian super titles, and in Israel we had Hebrew and Russian
That's Russian.
super titles. Yeah, and it was a delight. But
Yeah.
every once in a while I remember it because when my knee kicks,
Oh no.
I'll say Eleanor. But strangely enough, ironically, a year ago, I was in Israel to shoot the second season of a TV series that has become very popular in Israel, called Judah.
Yes.
It's streaming on Hulu, and the second season is about to come out. And lo and behold, we were doing an action sequence, and there was a stuntman there who was going to do it. I was supposed to fly in the air or something. And I said, no, 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 come on.
Uh-oh.
I can do it. If Tom Cruise can do his own stunts,
That's right.
we get paid the same. I might as well do it myself. And I did. And they flew me up. And then when they dropped me down, it was a little too fast. I fell again. My knee kind of crumpled behind me, and I tore my ACL. Same knee. And I had to finish. I had to finish my part in the series on crutches. So anyway, let's talk about
Let's talk about happier
let's
occasions.
talk about happy occasions. What do you dream of that you'd like to do that you haven't done yet? Is there something, if you had your druthers,
You
and
know, the
once this is over, because right now, as you know, Broadway won't open until maybe January of next year. Manny told me in my schmooze with him that he believes many companies won't even be able to return. We're going to lose a lot of the craft that we have in New York, especially. If you had what would you like to do that you haven't done?
you know, that Plot Against America, that show that based on the Philip Roth book.
You were wonderful in that, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Well, I really loved. I haven't done much film and TV, and I really wish I could. And if I had to pick something, I would really like to do that. And there's, I don't even know, Mike. I mean, I'm trying to be in the present. You know, I'm trying to be where I am. And except for these conversations, I don't really, or working with Frank, I mean, I don't know how I feel about stuff. I feel like it's a new chapter or a new book, and I don't know what's in it. And I'm at this age, whatever it is.
No,
And
what? Don't talk about age, because when I saw you, first of all, it was a surprise when we watched the series on HBO, and all of a sudden, I said,
Old and demented.
that can't be my Eleanor.
Yeah.
She's not, they must have really used a lot of makeup to make you look
Old.
like this Mrs. What's her name? Finkel?
Finkel. Mrs.
Finkel.
Finkel.
Because I said, Ellen, that can't be Eleanor. It can't be. This
Yeah, no,
is
it
an
wasn't me.
elderly
It was,
lady. But you really embodied, and probably because of your, background and your history and your tradition, you were able to embody this lady, and it was real and it was moving, and I think
thank you.
it's something you should be very proud of.
Thanks. I just haven't had a lot of those opportunities, and that's what I would love to do, because I feel like I didn't used to know how to do it, because I'm too big. I didn't know how to do it, and I did this little film called Minion with Ron Rivkin, um, and I learned a lot on that film, and that actually helped me with this Plot Against America. So I'd love to do some of that, and really I'm hoping the writing takes off. And I love singing with Frank, and I'm grateful. I feel like whatever comes my way, the reality is more than my own imagination. You know, the future is more interesting than what I can imagine it to be. My life has been more interesting than I ever would have imagined, Mike.
Yeah, and I'm grateful as well. We are lucky. We're the lucky ones. As I say to some of my friends, there are so many all over this country, all over the world right now, that are so much less fortunate than we are. So we have to say, Gamze Latoive, we are blessed. We just have to continue being responsible, and we'll get over this. My greatest frustration is I can't hug my grandchildren. I see them, we do Zoom, we do Shabbat Zooms. They come up to our neighborhood once in a while, and we walk at a distance, because, I'm, I'm scared that they're going to be growing up in the next year, and I'm not seeing them growing up. But we have no choice.
No.
The alternative is very bad, and we just have to keep our, logic.
I mean, sorry, I was just thinking, do you remember we were talking about doing uh, uh, Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman together. Do you remember that? We had talked about it
Yeah,
many years ago.
it's a
So
part
so
I'd like to try someday. Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to. I love working with you, and whatever it is that I would love, I would hope that we would have more in our future, concerts or plays or TV, whatever. I love being partnered in any form and fashion with you. I think
Thank
we do really beautiful stuff together.
Well, you know what? Let's plan something. You know, I've never been. You talked about the Krakow Jewish Festival. Ironically, I had spoken to the director a couple of times there, but I've never been there, and it's something I really would like to do. So why don't you organize it
Yeah.
next
Keep it
time?
up. Thank you.
Next time
Listen,
we'll go together.
well, I'd love it. I'd love it. And I'd love to go back to Israel.
Right now, as we speak, we're in July of 2020. Things are not getting better in Israel. It looks like they're about to close down
Wow.
in anticipation of a second wave. And, you know, Israelis are a very free society, especially on the coast in Tel Aviv. People just love to go to the beach every
Yeah.
day, in cafes and restaurants, and they didn't obviously take it seriously enough. And it's happening again. So it may be a while before we can go back. I was supposed to be in Israel in May. Next month is the premiere of the second season of Judah. I was supposed to be there. Right now, it's impossible. Can't even fly there. So let's be positive and keep a positive attitude, and we will do that together.
How's your family? Your family's okay? Everybody's all right? Siona?
Everybody is fine, and because we are taking care of ourselves,
Yeah.
that's our responsibility. So now I'm going to ask you something I ask all my friends. Um, if I were to ask you to tell me of one individual that inspired you, your life or your career, who would it be?
That's a good question, Mike. Um, I know you want me to say one person, but and maybe I'll think of who that is. But what I would have to say is, I feel like I came out with so so unformed in a way, uh, from Holocaust survivor parents and being the child of survivors. There was like a bit of an entitlement issue. You know, what do I need? What can I have? When they had nothing, what am I allowed to have? Also nothing. And I always could make the best out of nothing. um, so,
That's pretty inspiring right there.
well, yes. And my challenge was trying to have more than nothing. Like what couldn't, like I bought this house, which is more than nothing. And am I entitled? Why should I be entitled to have a house? My parents never had a house. They worked like dogs and they never had a house. And I have a house. Who am I to have a house?
Well, that's the $64,000 question we all ask ourselves.
Who we are. Why are we deserving?
Exactly. Do we deserve what we have? And that's a very tough question to answer.
I mean, I've been helped by so many. That's really what I mean to say, Mike. I've been helped by so many people. So many people have helped me that, you know, from Manny, from my parents and my grandparents who were salt of the earth humans who understood beauty and love and God, but weren't wacky. Um, so I, you know, my first therapist when I was in college, not that I needed help much, uh, but he taught me at that time that I should stop saying should. Because I was stuck. I was stuck. I never said want, I said should. He said, you can't say should anymore. What should I do? No, that's not the question. The question is, what do I want to do? Want. And I thought, want. Wow, what do I want? And a tiny little word from should to want, I would say that changed my life. And his name was Rodney Williams, and he's gone now, but and there are many therapists that have changed my life, but he was the first, and he taught me how to say, what do I want? And to this day I have to, you know, when I'm stuck or I don't know, what do you want, Eleanor? What do you want?
One word changed. He changed one word from
From
would,
should to want.
should. Sorry,
Because should I, you know, what should I do? I don't know what I should do. What should I do for my mother? What should I do for you? What should I do for the boss? I don't know what I should do. What do I want to do? Oh, okay. I might be able to answer that question.
Hmm.
So,
And it also gives you an entitlement. I'm entitled to want something.
absolutely.
I have the right to want something. And that changes an attitude as well. That's great. That's great. Thank you. My dear, we'll do this again. It was really wonderful to add you to all the friends that I'm accumulating on my channel. It's just a joy for me because it's not, I'm not doing an interview show. It's just a friendly gathering. Since we can't do it in person, this is the best way to do it. And I just thought to myself, you know, what can I do to you know, to associate and get together with my friends under these terrible circumstances. You know, I wanted to meet with them and just sit around and talk like we usually do, and we can't. So I said, wait a minute, this technology is now available. Why don't I see if I can do this? And I needed to launch it uh, to make it, you know, something serious. I mean, serious in the sense of, would people want to join me? So I said, who can I ask to be my first friend to join me on this journey? And I called Norman Lear.
Right.
You know,
There's a
if you,
friend.
yeah, if you're gonna, like you say, if you're gonna want something, want
That's it.
big, you know.
As meest Chase soll es rinnen fin Mol, my mother used to
Been the
say.
board, we used to say, yeah, it's a Jewish expression. If an Orthodox Jew is going to eat pork,
Pork.
at least it should run down his beard. But in Yiddish, it sounds much better.
Yeah.
But, you know, like you said, if you're going to want, who do I want? My biggest want. And I said, you know, I've known Norman for over 40 years. He's been a friend. We first met in Israel, actually, when he came to Israel. And I said, if I can do a schmooze with Norman Lear, I mean, who's going to refuse me? I called him at the, you know, off chance that he might say yes. And he did. And he was delightful. And you can see him on the channel. He was my first schmooze, as I call it. And I'm so blessed to have so many friends agree to do this. And each talk that we have is so special because it is not an interview. I'm not interviewing people. It's like what we're doing now. We are getting together.
Yeah. It's a hang.
Yeah, yeah. So I leave you with my motto that I leave all my friends with, and it is Carpe Diem.
Amen.
Which means seize the day. And that's what we need to do, especially now. Thank you. Thank
I
you.
love you, Mike.
Love you. And I hope to see you in person soon so we can give you a hug.
Amen.
Okay, sweetheart.
Be well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you for joining us.
A pleasure.
See you next
Always, anytime.
time. Bye.
Bye, Mike.